From the Whiskey Tangent Studios in Marlton, New Jersey, this is Whiskey Tangent News.
Hey everybody, this is Ed from the Whiskey Tangent Podcast, here with another edition of Whiskey News. Woo! And joining me as always is Scott.
Hey everybody.
Now let me tell you what we're going to get into.
All right.
We got 8 news stories for you. 3 are going to be in industry news, where we talk about what's going on in this crazy industry of ours. By ours, I'm being very generous there. And,
we're in it.
Sure, we're in it. Yeah, just like you're in the NFL if you buy a ticket and go to the Eagles game. So, financial news, 2 stories, and then fine dining, which, as far as I know, is a new section for us.
It is.
And it's going to be 3 mini stories in that.
And it's in quotes for a reason.
Right, so it may not be fine dining, tongue-in-cheek.
Right.
A bunch of new whiskeys coming out, at least 10, and then what's coming up for us on the next podcast.
Right. So, it is September 2023, and here's all the news that's fit to drink. In industry news from Whiskey Advocate, Sagamore Spirit bought by Italian beverage Behemoth. Baltimore-based Sagamore Spirit has announced that it has agreed to be acquired by Ilva Serrano, the Italian drinks company most famous for its Di Serrano Amaretto liqueur brand. The agreement was struck with Sagamore founder Kevin Plank, also the founder of Under Armour, the sportswear company. Said Plank, growing Sagamore Spirit has been an incredibly rewarding experience with a team that has obsessed every detail across this holistically Maryland grain-to-glass whiskey business. I want to thank Ilva Serrano for their understanding the specialness of our unique product and look forward to the outstanding horsepower that they can add into its next chapter. Although monetary details of the deal have yet to be released, perhaps most surprising is that in an effort to show how serious they are in showcasing Sagamore in their spirits lineup, Ilva Serrano will be moving its global headquarters to Baltimore.
I mean, that was the most surprising point of the story that I read.
That's amazing to me.
But even if they did start in 2008, we know they weren't really up and running until 4 years later. So you're talking about 10 or 11 years.
Yeah, that's how crazy it is now.
I mean, it's unheard of. Normally, you'd have to have a company 25 years or something, then you could sell out. I mean, I know in the tech world, you'd see this. You know, people would get the newest app or something, and some companies would acquire you, and that's pretty common. That's a 3-4 year thing, you know, but not normally for a spirit company.
No, but I think that's the trend now, though.
I mean, right, because what was
that's what we're seeing it. Blue Run, and then Lux Row bought up Penelope,
right,
and then somebody bought Wilderness Trail,
right. That was the one, Wilderness Trail, because they had only been around for about a 10-year period.
Yeah. I know. We should have started 10 years ago.
Right, as I said, we've had our podcast going 4 years, so in 2 years, I'm expecting a bid from Joe Rogan.
All right, so the second story that we have in industry news from the Whiskey Raiders, Kentucky Owl hires a new master blender.
It's me, everybody. I'd like to thank you for your attention, and my time on the podcast has been great. I'm looking forward to my time at Kentucky Owl. Besides blending my personality with Scott, I've never really blended any liquor together, but hey, you know what? They like my enthusiasm in the interview.
The fast-growing craft distillery Kentucky Owl has tapped Maureen Robinson, not Ed, as the brand's new master blender, as the former master blender, John Rhea, enters retirement. Robinson, the first female master blender to be hired by the brand, comes with 45 years of industry experience, primarily for Scotch brands like Johnny Walker, the Singleton, and Buchanan's, for which she was one of Diageo's first female master blenders.
Take that, Greg Snyder.
Said Robinson.
For no reason, random.
Right. Said Robinson, I'm really looking forward to my new career venture in the bourbon industry, and as the first female master blender at Kentucky Owl, I look forward to being a role model for aspiring women who have a passion for whiskey making. Additionally, because she has previously used only second fill bourbon barrels, Robinson expressed excitement to now having an opportunity to work with first fill bourbon barrels and to understanding how flavor is influenced by new American oak to create new whiskeys.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Kentucky Owl is one of those brands that I marvel at because everything they put out seems to be, worth $160.
Yeah.
Or $140 or $125. And for a long time, they were just those bottles I'd see behind the register. And I didn't know a lot about the company. Since, the last couple of years, Scott and I have had a bit of Kentucky Owl, and some of it's really, really good. Some of it I still scratch my head why it's $300.
Yeah. The Dixon Deadman, that's a guy who started it. Now he does 2XO. I think, really got lucky with his first one, and it just exploded, and it was limited. So then, the secondary took over, and then everyone after that was highly sought after only because of the first one. Not to say that the ones were bad or anything, but they weren't as good as the first one, and that's what happens in now.
Right. Didn't they come out with a Wiseman, which is their affordable option?
Yeah.
Like $42,
Yeah, I haven't had that though.
Yeah, they have a rye and a bourbon, very basic, kind of like what Stellum first did from Barrell, but then of course they can't help themselves, and now Stellum's all $100 for everything that comes out.
Yeah. Now, so maybe they're hiring hiring her, hoping to, infuse some like new ideas.
That's better than like an Old Elk. Kentucky Owl sounds like a premium brand to me.
Not like Old Elk.
Not like Old Elk. Old Elk is a good company, but I don't understand their name. It's like, normally when you put Old in front of something, it's a crappy whiskey. Old Crow, right?
Old Ed.
No, like there's like 3 or 4 Olds out there. They're not good.
Yeah.
Old Mud.
Old Mud. It tastes like dirt.
Right, Old Prostate. That one. that one doesn't sell.
No. It tastes like a. All right, so the last story in industry news from Fox 5 DC. Virginia introduces text messages for rare whiskey. Virginia's Alcoholic Beverage Control Authority is launching a new text messaging system for communicating to customers when and where limited availability products will be dropped. This is in response to last month's controversial new electronic lottery system in which sorting anomalies allowed single entrants to win multiple bottles, prompting a public outcry from those who missed out. So starting immediately, customers can sign up for the notifications by texting the word DROPS, DROPS, to 80424 and simply attesting that they are at least 21 years old. Said Virginia ABC spokesperson Pat Kane, this time we're sure that the system is going to run really well. So they had a horrible time apparently rolling out this new electronic lottery system.
Yeah.
And everyone got upset. So now they're instituting a text messaging system so people can know when rare whiskey is near them.
So it's like everyone's going to have that friend at the liquor store that knows when the bottle's coming in. Hey,
right.
Psst. Richmond, there's a case of Weller Full Proof heading your way on Tuesday.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be cool, though, if everybody did that? Like liquor stores in our area would do that. I know some do like email, notifications and stuff like that, but I haven't heard of text messaging.
Yeah. I'd like Taylor
from
Bedash to let me know when some good stuff in. But to my credit, I haven't asked her to look for anything. So
right. Jeff told the story on the last Vault episode that was out 2 weeks ago about he had to bribe the box boy. And he got back to him. So this is a little bit more legal, I guess.
Yeah. Like one time I was in a store and I was looking for Larceny Brow Proof, and the guy's like, well, I got a bottle in the back for me to take home. Do you want me to give you that? I was like, no, man. No, I mean, you work here. You should get some type of a benefit for that.
Well,
Put
that's
up
true.
with dumbass questions from people like me all day, Got Blanton's? Got any Pappy right there?
Right.
So I was like, no, it was nice of him to offer, though.
Yeah, that was nice. All right, so financial news. This is a story that I think should have greater attention.
Okay.
So this is from Fortune magazine. Whiskey towns fume over distillery tax dodging. For decades, the whiskey makers of Tennessee and Kentucky have been beloved in their communities, enhancing the rural character of their neighborhoods while providing good-paying jobs and the pride of a successful homegrown industry. But as American whiskey has grown in popularity around the world, it's beginning to fuel conflicts at home, and the love affair, it seems, might be over. You see, in Kentucky, where 95% of the world's bourbon is manufactured, county officials are fuming after the state's legislature voted to phase out a barrel tax that has been funding schools, roads, utilities, and even fire departments with up to $4 million per county annually. In addition, many of the new barrel houses being built are utilizing industrial revenue bonds that exempt them from property taxes for years or even decades. Initially, the counties had agreed to support these tax breaks because they expected to continue collecting the barrel tax, but now that it's being phased out, after 2043, distillers will pay no taxes at all on most of their warehouses. In response, counties are declaring moratoriums on new warehouse construction while they update zoning and permitting rules. Soon, new projects will be required to seek citizen input and zoning board approval. Also, as we reported previously, neighbors in both states have been suing distillers over the destructive black whiskey fungus, as well as the loss of prime farmland and complaints about liquor-themed tourist developments that are more Disneyland than distillery tour. And as famed whiskey writer, competition judge, and friend of the podcast, Fred Minnick, recently said about these developments, it's an interesting time for the industry because bourbon has never been this popular. Bourbon was always the good guy. Bourbon was loved by Kentucky, so it'll be fascinating to see if bourbon remains a hero.
Well, right. And recently, you've seen the controversy with Disney in Florida. Disney deserves some breaks for all that they bring, the tourism, but, there has to be a limit. Kentucky is producing a lot more whiskey, and just to have the same flat barrel tax might not be fair because that takes a lot of money to get to that point. But by the same token, they shouldn't get a free ride. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're phasing it out for good.
Yeah. What's really happening is the whiskey industry, we've talked about how it's been 100 years since Prohibition. They're really doing well. They're getting their power back, if you will, and they're flexing it, right? They're lining the pockets of politicians, both legally because we have ridiculous donation rules
right,
and lobbying laws in this country. I mean, remember we talked about during Prohibition how powerful the Brewers Association was of the beer makers, right?
Yeah.
And the same thing is going on now, right? As more and more extra money is laying around, they can hire more and more lobbies, more and more attorneys.
Right. So it's become a big business like any other. But I like how the counties are sort of pushing back on the state legislature. They have to. They have no choice.
Schools and roads to build.
I know. So I think it's working. So they said now that they are pushing back, the state legislatures are now willing to listen, and the distillers themselves, because if you are not allowing the distillers to build any new rickhouses because of your new zoning laws and getting citizens to actually vote on whether they should build it or not, well, yeah, now they have to listen to the citizenry.
Right.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, you might not know, Scott and I have a cover band called Black Whiskey Fungus is playing this weekend. It's a caucus Friday night, and also in East Orange at a little place called Mike's Ale House on Saturday. We're doing 2 shows, 2 and 9.
Are we doing the Starlight Ballroom in
Also,
Saraville?
right. So we're doing the Starlight Ballroom in Saraville, not actually inside, but we're doing the parking lot outside. They won't actually hire us because why would you? Because we're not even a real band.
Yeah. Well, we want to be.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, Black Fungus. Yeah. Oh, Black Fungus. Yeah. Got it on the car. Yeah. Got it on the house. Yeah. Oh, Black Fungus.
Got on my children? Blam, blam.
Oh, no. You can't get on your children.
Oh, right.
Now you've gone into a whole other thing.
Yes. We can't talk
and
about that.
we're not even talk about what it is.
We can't talk about that.
Jesus, Scott.
What?
I'm saying you can't do that.
Oh, I know.
Go ahead.
Well, we didn't. Right. So the second story in financial news is from the spirits business. Scotch exports drop significantly.
Crazy.
The Scotch Whisky Association, or SWA, has reported that Scotch exports by volume and value declined during the first half of 2023, a 20% drop in volume from last year that equates to 630 million bottles. Value-wise, the category performed better, but still experienced a loss of $122 million US, a drop of 3.6%. Subsequently, the SWA has attributed the shift to the global trend of premiumization and said consumers are trading up to premium blended Scotch and single malts, said SWA Chief Executive Mark Kent. Premiumization in the spirits category didn't start during COVID-19, but the pandemic certainly accelerated the trend, and it remains the case that consumers are trading up, enjoying premium spirits, and consuming fewer units of alcohol.
So Cuddy Sark and the old grouse are taking it in the
chin, yes. So here's my take on it. I'm wondering, maybe it's not premiumization. Maybe it's the rise in American single malts.
Not 630 million bottles.
No, not the full 20%.
Right.
But a drop of 20%, I don't think it's just premiumization. We have rules for American single malts now. We have a lot of companies making them. We have a lot of people buying them. And you don't have to pay any import tax or anything. They're cheaper.
Right. But you can only buy so many bottles a year.
Yes, that's
if you
also
drink
true.
both. If you're only a Scotch guy, then yeah, maybe that's premiumization. Premium.
I know it's hard to say. Premiumization.
Premiumization. No, that's immunization, like a shot.
Say premium.
Premiumization.
Yes. I'll do you doing that, and then I'll place it together.
Premiumization. So anyway, maybe back in the day, you buy 3 or 4 bourbons and you buy 8 scotches. But now, the Bulleit rye, and there's got Old Ezra's got a rye, and now Knob Creek's got a rye. And,
oh, wow, look at these American single malts.
Right.
Because they got barley.
Right.
They kind of taste like Scotch. They're a little bit cheaper. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll try those. So that's the end of financial news. The next thing we have is fine dining, in quotes. All right, so these are like 3 little mini stories. The first one is those crazy vampires at Sazerac have announced that they're partnering with B&G Foods to launch 3 new non-alcoholic seasoning blends under the Weber brand that's behind a wide range of grilling seasoning blends, rubs, marinades, sprays, and sauces. The new lineup includes...
I know the ones you're talking about. I've seen the Weber rubs. I've seen them, yeah.
So they have Fireball seasoning, which features the sweet heat.
Is that from Sazerac?
Yeah.
Wait, Sazerac owns Fireball?
Yeah.
How did I forget that? God, that must fund everything else they do.
I know, right? The sweet heat of Fireball's cinnamon flavor, Buffalo Trace seasoning, inspired by the sweet fruit flavor and caramel notes of the famous bourbon, and Southern Comfort seasoning, which showcases a balanced blend of stone fruit flavors, warm spice, and garlic.
I mean, I could see Southern Comfort on the right meat.
Like a chicken, I think, would go great with that.
Yeah, it would be really sweet.
Yeah.
The way a pineapple teriyaki would go on like a chicken, or even some fish maybe.
Oh, yeah, some fish. I think the Buffalo Trace one would go well with meat, like
Pork.
grilled meat. And pork would be good. But what the fuck did the Fireball seasoning go with? Cinnamon on meat?
Nah. No.
I mean, God.
No.
Right. So the second one we have is nationwide restaurant chain.
Nationwide is on your side.
No, that's the insurance company.
Oh, sorry.
Buffalo Wild Wings is bringing bourbon to their wing-demanding patrons in the form of a new Bulleit bourbon barbecue sauce made with actual Bulleit bourbon, which lends its sweet, smoky tang directly to chicken wing sandwiches and wraps. But hurry and order now because the new sauce is available only for a limited time.
What amazes me is you got Bulleit, which is a monster company. Do they have their own bourbon now?
I believe so.
If you make your own bourbon, you always have some bourbon that you make that isn't up to snuff. Because it seems dumb to source your bourbon and then just give it to a barbecue sauce. It's like, I'm wondering if that's where this comes from. That makes sense? I mean, I don't know. I've never owned a barbecue company, but I'm just...
No, that makes sense. Like if you have product that you can't really use for its intended purpose, you find another purpose for it.
Right. My brother used to work for a farm that grew recreational marijuana.
Right.
And the really pretty buds would be packaged to be sold as flowers.
Sure.
And the ugly ones would be used to make the waxes and the oils and the edibles.
Right.
And the stuff like that because it just wasn't visually appealing. So I have to think that bourbon has to have similar byproducts. I'm sure anyone in the industry is like, of course, Ed.
Yeah. The good side of capitalism.
Right. That's why you have a company and what you try to maximize and sell everything you have.
Right.
That's right.
All right. So the third one, and this is absolutely ridiculous. The cinnamon-flavored whiskey liqueur, again, Fireball, recently introduced a new product aimed at spicing up, get it?
Yeah.
The champagne industry. It comes in a magnum-sized bottle, and it's called Fireball Dragnum, get it?
Yeah.
And it's packaged to look like a regular bottle of champagne, complete with cork topper, classic wire cage, and crinkled foil wrap. But it's actually not sparkling wine at all. Inside is the same old Fireball that you can get anywhere. So why are they doing this? Well, said spokesman Danny Suich, if given the choice, we're hoping Fireball fans will reach for a magnum of Fireball over a magnum of the same old to ignite the holiday festivities. Because an epic celebration deserves something spicier than usual. 1.75-liter bottles of Fireball Dragnum began rolling out to stores late last month at a suggested retail price of $24.99.
I mean, it's pretty cheap. I'll say that.
It is cheap, but it's so dumb.
I have to tell you, is it dumb? Because they're already selling the most. So I kind of give them credit for not resting on their laurels. But I think people will expect it to be different or expect it to be bubbly because it doesn't matter. Listen, labels don't really mean anything. People go on what they think it is. It looks like champagne. This must be some type of sparkling Fireball.
Barrel cinnamon champagne.
Right.
And go, yeah, let's get this. This is interesting and new. And then they pour it out and it's the same old shit.
I would imagine, though, if they did put bubbles in, like spraying high power Fireball into people's eyes would be deadly. I hear this. I guarantee they tried something like this and blinded a couple of lab workers. Like, because, you know, we've all had champagne in our eyes at one point or another and it kind of burns a little bit.
Yeah.
But Fireball with the cinnamon in your eyes? Oh my God.
That's true.
So Fireball, the nemesis of classic bourbon drinkers. But in the summer, you know, you give me an airplane bottle out of the freezer. It's delightful. It's refreshing. It's not whiskey. I drink a lot more liqueurs than Scott. I drink Concho. I drink Grand Marnier. I drink Frangelica. I'll drink Amaretto.
It makes sense for you. You like really sweeter stuff. And me, I just put Sriracha on a plate and just lick it.
Right. Well, yeah. Well, that's because, you know, I worship the Greek god of sugar, diabetes. Diabetes, the Greek god of sugar.
Okay. All right. That's it for news. So we have new whiskeys that are out this month. We have 10 of them. 2XO, which we just mentioned earlier, the Dixon Deadman, formerly of Kentucky Owl. They're putting out 2 new expressions. 2XO means 2 times oak, signifying that everything they do is double oaked. So the first one is the American Oak Bourbon. It's billed as an everyday bourbon, 92 proof. The age and mash bill are not disclosed, although it says a moderate amount of rye. Butterscotch, roasted cashews, nougat, and caramel brittle. MSRP is $50, which is pretty good. Most of their stuff is expensive, as is this next one, the Tribute Blend Bourbon, a small batch release in honor of his parents and the path they paved for him. It's a 104 proof, at least 6 years aged. It's 2 mash bills, a 35% rye plus 18% rye bourbons. Toffee, caramel, apricot, and red hot cinnamon candy. The MSRP for that is $100. I see these in every liquor store I go to. Like they're everywhere in New Jersey. I don't know about other states.
Yeah, and they're about 100.
Yeah, but I've never had one.
I thought we had a Doug's that time.
Oh, maybe we did. Not at the vault, just tasting with him later. Yeah, but I don't remember which one that was.
Yeah, me either.
No. So the next one is Barrel Craft Spirits. They're always putting out stuff.
Yeah, sure. Good stuff.
The Amburana Cask Finish Bourbon. So as a mini preview of an upcoming episode that we're going to do next season, this is a blend of 2 mash bills at 4 different ages, finished in Amburana casks, a type of oak that grows only in Brazil. The age is between 5 and 10 years. It's 116.42 proof. The derived mash bill is 75% corn, 21% rye, 4% malted barley, rich and buttery with oak-derived spice, licorice root, pumpkin pie, chai tea, ginger beer, tarragon, lemon meringue, and verjus.
Nice.
They just have to put one thing in the end, right? MSRP, $85.
Yeah.
I want to try to get this for the episode we're thinking
that would
about.
be good.
The next one is Blue Run Trifecta. This is the first release from Blue Run since being acquired by Molson Coors, which we reported on last month. This is a blend of 3 different Kentucky bourbons. 32% of it is a 9-year, 78% corn bourbon. 22% is an 8-year, 75% corn bourbon. And the rest, 46%, is a 6-year, 78% corn bourbon. That's why it's Trifecta. It's a 117.1 proof, cinnamon, candy apple, baked bread, caramel, peppermint, and white chocolate with a balanced wood charred linger. MSRP $180.
Okay. So,
I know.
Yeah.
They're sourcing.
Exactly.
They're not making their own stuff, but I get that they blend. But, we just talked about Barrell blending things, and it's $85, and they're selling theirs for $180. Like, what makes theirs better?
Right. And I will say that this had to be the works before they were acquired.
Oh, sure, of course.
This was definitely not something that the new people put out.
No. The next one we have, Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. The new one is out, the C923.
Yeah, people are going crazy. Elijah Craig is catching fire.
Yeah.
Some people like the regular as an everyday drinker for sure, but holy hell, like Scott and I drank store barrel pick. It was 10 years old, cask strength, and it was one of the best whiskeys I ever drank in my life.
Yeah.
And it was like $75.
Yeah. This is the last ECBP release of the year. It's 133 proof, 13 years, 7 months aged.
Yeah.
78% corn, 10% rye, 12% malted barley. The classic Elijah Craig mash bill. Dark caramel, molasses, baking spice, bright raspberry, brown sugar, pepper, glazed pecans, ginger, and cinnamon. MSRP, as you said, $75. But again, good luck with that.
Well, but you can find it some places. But here's what's interesting. If they dropped that to $120, they could put out a lot more bottles. They're a big company. This is not some niche 10,000 bottle release place. This is Heaven Hill. This is a monster company. Mm-hmm. And for them to keep it at 133 or whatever it is, that's a really hot bourbon.
Yeah, the fact that they put the MSRP at 75 is commendable. But then the fact that it's at cask strength and they don't have enough bottles and they know that its price is going to go up for the consumer, they're not getting that money.
But I guess their distiller is like, listen, this is what
tastes good.
This is what we want to do. Yeah. It doesn't seem like a lot to us, but they're putting out so many bottles that 5% proof down could get them another truckload of 2 of the whiskey.
It is an interesting calculus that they do.
Yeah.
The next one out, and I want to get a bottle of this, do a quick taste in the near future. Jack Daniel's Bonded Rye. Yeah, the newest addition to their Bonded series. See episode 56 for our take on the first 2, the Bonded Bourbon and the Triple Mash. Yeah. It's 100 proof, of course, 4 years, of course. The mash bill, 70% rye, 18% corn, 12% malted barley, banana bread and apple cake with balanced notes of spice, fruit, vanilla, and oak. The MSRP is $32.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I saw it in the store recently for $39.
Did you?
And once again, every state has their own taxes, right?
You
put on top of that. So to me, $39 is pretty close to the MSRP, even though they're saying $32, which you're not going to find it for $32. That's
not here. We learned on another podcast that it's cheaper in other states.
Yeah.
Way cheaper than here. The next one, Little Book, Chapter 7. This one is named In Retrospect and is a blend of 7 different whiskeys, 1 each from the previous 6 chapters and a new 7th. So 2 ryes, 4 bourbons, and 1 single malt, 6 of which were blended into their previous 6 versions.
That's very interesting, yeah.
So the 2 ryes, there's a 4-year, which is the new whiskey. They have a 10-year, which was in Chapter 2. For the 4 bourbons, they had a 4-year, which was in Chapter 1, the 9-year, which is in Chapter 4, the 17-year, which was in Chapter 3, and the 18-year, which was in Chapter 5. And then 1 single malt, a 5-year, which was in Chapter 6. It's 118.1 proof. Caramel orange zest, smoke, floral rye, leather, tobacco, ancient oak, clove, and freshly cracked black pepper. MSRP $150.
What's the proof again?
118.1.
I mean, they're special. They've kind of replaced the Blood Oath for me because the Blood Oath get kind of expensive, but these started out at 110. Now they're at 150. I mean, that's kind of follow the trend of whiskey. Remember, these come out every year, so you have to go back, 6 years ago, it was probably like $95, $98.
Yeah.
You could still get Bookers for 100, but a lot of times you'll see Bookers for 130 now, so.
Yeah, I think if you can get it for 150 or maybe even under, get it.
Yeah.
The next one is Maker's Mark Cellar Aged Cask Strength. This is their oldest release yet. It's a blend of 11 and 12-year Maker's Mark. 87% of it is the 12-year, 13% is the 11-year. It's 115.7 proof. 70% corn, 16% red winter wheat, 14% malted barley, the classic Maker's Mark.
Yep.
Dark stone fruit, caramelized sugar, toasted oak, caramelized barrel notes, and baking spices. Another one at 150.
What gets me about this is that one of the oldest whiskey companies, and they seem to have trouble having old whiskey around. Like, you figure they would have the best chance at having 20-year expressions. They've been putting whiskey out at a pretty good pace since the 50s. It's interesting to me that they've never put out a 12-year before.
Yeah, that this is their oldest.
Right.
Yeah. We have two more. Milam and Greene has released their volume 2 of their Unabridged bourbon. Second installment from Milam Greene's Unabridged bourbon comprises a blend of 56 bourbon barrels across 5 age statements and from 3 different states. All right, so strap in. 11 of the barrels are 16-year Tennessee bourbon. 18 barrels are a 7-year Tennessee bourbon. 5 barrels are a 4-year Tennessee bourbon. 9 barrels are a 3.5-year Kentucky bourbon. 11 barrels are a 2-year Kentucky bourbon. And 2 barrels are a 2-year Texas bourbon.
I was going to say, they're based in Texas. It might be nice to bring some of their own stuff in.
There it is.
I remember a 2-year barrel in Texas is like a 4-year barrel in other states.
Exactly. Listen to these tasting notes. Dark cherry, fig, sweet almond, menthol, fine boot leather, anise, caramel candy, dark brown sugar, sweet black tea, marzipan oak, fresh bread, licorice, and citrus oil. MSRP 95.
What's proof again?
It's 117.6 proof.
Okay. Yeah, they have a lot of low-proof stuff.
Yeah, so I think that's worth it. All the work that they did, 56 different bourbon barrels together.
Absolutely. That's a special effort. Sure, that deserves a couple extra dollars.
Yeah.
And what, 95?
Yeah, and we know that stuff is good because we've had several expressions of it.
We're best friends with the master distiller there.
That's right. The last one, you're going to like this. Remus Repeal Reserve Series 7 is out.
Ooh, yay. 5 and 6 have been so good.
Yes, we've tasted 2 previous versions on the podcast. The Series 5 on Doug's Vault episode last year, which we rated the highest of all the ones we tried.
Yeah.
And Series 6, which made it to the final pour of this year's Whiskey Madness tournament.
Yeah.
The Series 7 is comprised of barrels aged between 9 and 16 years from MGP, of course. This is their brand. 26% of it is a 10-year, 21% rye bourbon. Another 26% is a 10-year, 36% rye bourbon. 21% of it is 9-year, 21% rye. Another 21% is a 9-year, 36% rye. And 6% of it, the rest, is a 16-year, 21% rye. It's 100 proof, caramelized pecans, candied cherry, maple syrup, raisins, and barrel char, finishing with an intense cinnamon and peppermint. $100.
I think I got the last one I bought was for $102. I bought the 6.
There you go. Yeah. I mean, those are better deals than the little book and the Maker's Mark that we just talked about.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. All right, so you want to talk about our Philly trips?
Right, so we went to see, there's a couple bands in Philly that's not worth mentioning where we're going, but...
I don't know. We saw a cover band of Red Hot Chili Peppers called the Red Knot Chili Peppers.
Right, so... Right, so first of all, I'll give it a shout out. We saw a very entertaining 90s cover band called Flannel. They were fun. It's great to hear some songs live you probably never heard. They were doing Stone Temple Pilots. They were doing some Nirvana.
Pearl Jam, it was grunge stuff. Soundgarden, that kind of stuff.
And then they opened up for the Red Knot Chili Peppers, who came out and did the entire
Love that name.
Blood Sugar Sex Magic album. We're both Chili Pepper fans, especially me. It's one of my favorite bands. And so to see both bands for $15 was a pretty good deal.
It's $15. That was the best part.
The best part. And we went to our favorite venue in that area. Is a place called Bourbon and Branch. They have a really good whiskey menu, of course.
Yeah, curated, yeah.
They had a restaurant pick, 4 Roses single barrel. And I think it was probably 112 or something. Mm-hmm. It was an absolutely delicious 4 Roses expression. It was a nice way to start.
Yeah.
Do you remember anything?
We actually went twice. We went once before the show, and then we went again before going to the New Liberty Distillery.
Right. So we actually went there on 2 different occasions in the last month. 2 different servers.
Yeah. Shout out to Lauren, who it was her last day working when we saw her.
Lauren's moved to California, I believe.
Yeah.
Hopefully she'll listen to this.
Yes.
She said she would listen. Of course, if she's starting from the beginning, it'll be months before she hears this. But if she's jumping in at the end, which is very possible, And then we had Sheena, which was Sheena was all personality.
So nice.
Great big smile, and very energetic. And
she gave us a hug when we left.
Yeah, she loved us so much. That's how much people love the Whiskey Tangent podcast when we go out with our people.
Yeah, she didn't even listen to it yet, and she loves us.
Well, we hung out there long enough where she got a taste of what it was like.
That's true.
Nonsense.
Right.
As I said, we saw the band the first time. The second time, we ended up going to the New Liberty Distillery in Philadelphia, which makes some tremendous whiskey, most notably the Kinsey line of bourbons and ryes, often finished in wines. They first caught my attention with their Zinfandel finish, which I found to be delicious. Only 86 proof for the base one, but I've also had the cask strength Zinfandel finish, which is great. They also have Cabernet finish, which was 92 proof, which we have here that we tried it yet. We have it.
Yeah.
But then we tried the cask strength because we went there and had a flight and tried all their different stuff that they had. So the star of the show, I think, was they had some Stitzelweller juice that was 15 years old. They mixed it into a barrel of new distillate and then aged it another 15 years. So some of the components is 30 years old and some is only 15 years old.
Yeah.
Gotta tell you, never tasted anything quite like it.
That was really cool.
Yeah. But then they also had some 1 and 2 year Pennsylvania rye stuff that just had such an interesting leather, menthol, herbaceous flavor to it that was such a contrast to most of the stuff we had.
Yeah, and sometimes you go to a distillery and they have the young stuff and you can tell it's super young.
Yeah.
You could tell this was young, but it had more of a sophistication, I think, than most other local craft distilleries have.
Right. So
it was really surprising.
So we stayed down in the distillery room talking to Devin. He gave us a lot of information on the distillery, and we also talked to Nate, who is the manager of the shop. And then we went upstairs to the bar. They have a full bar upstairs with all their stuff in it. Mm-hmm. And we had a couple delicious cocktails made by Jenny, who was up there.
Jenny, who can I turn to?
She's like, oh, I've never heard that before, Scott. Thank you.
So, she didn't like us at first because I did that. She did.
She warmed to us, as people tend to do. If they refrain from kicking us out long enough to get to know us.
She didn't hug us like Sheena did, but I think she wanted to.
Well, she was on the other side of a bar. That would have been awkward.
So the one cocktail that I had that I could find on their menu, I don't know if the cocktail that you had was on the menu.
It was.
The Royale Old Fashioned. So this was their Kinsey 15-year American cask strength, which is what one you just talked about, which they put in a cocktail.
Right.
Bitters, absinthe, orange, and a cherry, but he made a syrup out of Golden Monkey beer. That was an incredible cocktail.
Yeah, and then I had their version of the Sazerac.
Right.
With the absinthe that they make.
Yeah.
So the New Liberty Distillery is amazing. They're not big. It's a small operation.
No. And if you live in the area, absolutely go. Just go. It's a great time.
They're great people. We were there on a research journey, and we got drunk like always and didn't know what we were doing. Because we took Ubers and trains, so we didn't have to drive again for hours.
That's right. All right, so the last thing that we do is what's coming up in the podcast, and I'm only going to do what we're doing next week, because next week we'll tell you everything about the next season. It's the last call.
That's right.
Summer 2023 on the 29th.
Yes. We'll recap the entire season, and of course, at the end of that episode, we'll tell you what's coming up for the next season.
That's right. So that's it.
All right, so that's the news as we see it here in September 2023. We thank you all for tuning in. Cheers, everybody.
Later.